that still leaves you plenty of room for applications, or almost as much as you were going to have anyway.
And it's 100 times smaller than any Windows application.
Right, it's a lot smaller and a lot less resource intensive than a similarly configured Windows installation.
Briefly, can you explain to me what the difference between free software is and paying for software?
Actually, it's a little more complex than that. When you say free or paid for software in a Linux perspective or in a free software perspective,
I know you can purchase Linux distributions, for example. What would be the benefit of that over, say, using something that I can literally download for free?
Well, one of the reasons you might want to pay for it is to support the authors of that software, even if they offer it to you for free. If you find it and you like it, you might want to buy a copy anyway, because that's how they fund further development. There are also versions of Linux like Linspire, like Xandros, like SUSE Linux has a for-pay version where they include things that they cannot include for free. Things like DVD players, like we mentioned earlier. Things like proprietary codecs, so you can play some of the Microsoft formats like and some of the Apple codecs like QuickTime. So you could pay for those things. Another thing you can get, if you pay for your distribution, you may get support with it. Now, it kind of goes without saying, if you download your copy of Linux off the internet, like I did, say it stopped working for me, there's nobody I can't call an 800 number and say, hey, fix my computer for free, because I haven't given them any money. Now, if you buy SUSE Linux, you may get some degree of support with that, or if you buy Xandros or Linspire,
you get some degree of support. There's going to be lots of public support available to you because it is an open source. There's a community that's going to support
absolutely
the products and is going to help you through some problems.
Even if you get your copy of Linux for free, there is generally very good community support. Ubuntu has gotten a lot of mind share lately, so they've had excellent support. If you go to their forums, there's an absolute plethora of information on how to work with any hardware, any software, any problems you might have. There's probably an answer there, and if there isn't, if you ask, there are lots of people interested in keeping this going and answering your questions.
So basically, essentially, I think what I'm hearing is that it's easier. Some of these commercial distributions include stuff that make Linux easier to use and easier to migrate from a Windows system, because you said before that some distributions do not include codecs and DVD players and stuff.
Yes, and you can get those codecs from various sources. You can pay for them, or you can get them with your distribution. Typically, if they are proprietary codecs, in other words, made by Apple or Microsoft or some other company, you'll probably have to pay something to get them.
Would that be harder to install than it would be if I just...
If you get something like a Linspire has a very easy-to-use system for that. There's a click and run, so if you buy their boxed Linux distribution, or if you order it over the internet, you can set it up, and then you point to their website, and you can just click and download the stuff you need.
Now, I hear that that service also is now available for Ubuntu and some other services?
Yes, I understand they've just cut the deal. So I can't say go get Ubuntu and use click and run, because that's not going to happen just yet. They still just work through that deal. But I believe in newer versions of Ubuntu, as things go forward, you're going to find that they will have a similar service available where you can pay them some amount of money and you can download those proprietary codecs and other software, have them delivered to your computer in a very simple to use manner.
So clearly, I guess what we can conclude is that there's harder distributions and there are easier distributions to use, and you kind of have to find out which one is right for you.
Absolutely, like any other product where you have choice. Windows not being one of those things, because pretty much you have to take what they give you. But if you have any marketplace where there's choice, you can buy things that are simple and easy to use, or you can get things that are more complex but give you a higher degree of control. You could buy a car with an automatic transmission where you don't know what gear it's in and you don't care, but it's easy to use, so you get in and you drive. Some people like a car with a manual transmission. You can shift the gears yourself. You can buy a variety of different transmissions. You have more control at the cost of a little more complexity in learning how to use it. Linux works the same way. You can buy a boxed, very simple to use version of Linux that comes out of the box with everything you need. Boom, it drops in and it looks a lot like Windows, so it'll be more familiar to you if you're trying to cross over. Or you can go to a more difficult version to use, like a Slackware or a Debian, where once you've learned how to use Linux a little bit, you're comfortable with it, and you say, I like this Linspire, but I want to tweak it. I want to do some things that they won't allow me to do out of the box because they made it real easy, but they've restricted it a little bit. Well, guess what? You get yourself a Slackware or a Debian. Absolutely everything is out in the open to you. You can tweak every parameter. Is it harder to set up? Yeah, a little bit. It makes it more difficult, but you have every possible option available to you.
What about for the user who might want to do some of that more complex configuration? Say if I want to reprogram, does it have some sort of programming language or some kind of programming scheme that makes that possible? Like say you want to make an extension for Firefox. There's a programming scheme that you follow, and you can create some rather sophisticated applications. They're not really applications; they're built into the structure of the browser. But these add-ons to it, how difficult is it to create like an add-on or an extension?
Well, it depends. If the Firefox is a good example of that. The application could be as simple or as complex as you want, depending upon what you want to do.
What's the application underlying language? So what kind of coding language?
There are many different languages. Whatever language that you like to program in, there is probably an implementation for Linux available for free. C, C++, Fortran, COBOL, Ruby on Rails. There are JavaScript development environments for it. You could develop in Java. You name it. You could.